Hey guys, Happy New Year. This is Jeremiah doing Iron Man review. The movie's directed by Jon Favreau, starring Robert Downey Jr., Terrence Howard, uh, Jeff Bridges, and Gwyneth Paltrow. It's a film about Tony Stark, a weapons manufacturer. After doing his weapons testing in Afghanistan, he gets kidnapped, and the kidnappers want to build the same weapon he used for the testing. But meanwhile, Tony Stark built a suit to combat with terrorists, and led to his escape and to return to America. This movie was the first movie in the MCU, and originally Tom Cruise was casted as Iron Man, but thank God he wasn't, because if you've seen the Mummy movie, he played a similar role, but it didn't work out. So Marvel turned to other actors, but we ultimately found in Robbie Downey Jr. Robbie Downey Jr. was known on the comeback trail, and his previous movies were Zodiac and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. But the studio was hesitant to cast him because his troubles with substance abuse. But Jon Favreau campaigned for him to be casted as Iron Man because of his lifestyle was similar to the character, and he was a fan of the comic. When the movie came out, it was budget 140 million, but it grossed 585 and made Robert Downey Jr. an overnight success. The movie starts with when Tony Stark gets kidnapped, and it shows a later timeline before his kidnapping. It also shows the relationships between Tony Stark with his best friend James Rhodes, played by Terrence Howard, Albert Einstein, played by Jeff Bridges, and Pepper Potts, played by Gwyneth Paltrow. When he was kidnapped, he discovers that something happened in his chest, but he discovers after that it was shrapnel going to his heart and going towards his chest. But the arc reactor, powered by a battery, were keeping the shrapnel after it. The man who performed this surgery was Dr. Jensen, and he and Tony Stark were held captive by the terrorists. And when the terrorists arrived, they asked Tony to build a weapon, which he used for the testing. Robert Downey Jr. initially refused to build a missile for the terrorists, but later he got tortured and after that he agreed to do the missile. He and Jensen were planning to escape, so Robert Downey Jr. drew up a plan to build his first Iron Man suit called Mark One, and he escaped the camp. When he returned to America, he took responsibility upon himself to keep the technology we made from camp to himself, and by using the technology to upgrade the technology to build better Iron Man suits, and later combat terrorism by himself. In terms of business, he decided to look at deeply how the company ran day to day. The strength of the film was casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Now, at the time, Robert Downey Jr. was on the mend, and because of his substance abuse problems, Marvel was hesitant to take him on as lead of the first big film, which is understandable. But the actor has made solid good works with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and as I said previously, Jon Favreau campaigned for him to be the main lead, which paid off really well. And speaking for Robert Downey Jr., his chemistry with his co-stars was on point, especially when him and Gwyneth Paltrow playing their titular characters as Pepper Potts and Tony Stark, and it showed on screen. And Pepper Potts was a love interest for Tony Stark, and which wasn't forced upon you, but it was seen as a relationship that grew organically, as you see Tony Stark as the boss and Pepper Potts as the assistant. But as later down the line, he grew respect and fondness for her, and she grew in terms of she really cares for him, but she has this tough exterior, but it doesn't make her allow him until he changes himself. Another strength was music, and the rock influenced music, with the hard drums and the guitar. And this was like the staple for the Iron Man character in this film and later on, but not in the last Iron Man film. For composer Ramin Djawadi was composed this film, and he's the guy who was responsible for Game of Thrones, Westworld, Warcraft, and Pacific Rim. And he also has done a good job. I personally listened to the soundtrack, and you can actually see which scenes are used for and the music being used in the film. Another strength and point for the film is the humor, and this is majorly because of Robert Downey Jr. Charisma and leadership of the film. Iron Man is a happy-go-lucky. He runs before he walks. He has a swagger about him. He's narcissistic, and Robert Downey Jr. plays him really well, and he uses humor as a defense mechanism, but also to go back and forth with other characters. The weaknesses of the film is the villain. The villain is really weak in the film, and he doesn't. But he starts off strong. That's the most annoying part. And for Marvel, their villains are normally weak, and this was the starting point for this film. The villain was not really formidable or even much of a threat. It was mostly a throwaway character just to boost up the main character. Another weakness of the film was the final fight between the villain and the hero. The final fight was more like noise, and it was not much conflict for it to pay off. And the CGI for the Iron Man suit at the time did not look good and look well, and did not blend well with the natural surrounding. And you actually see it standing out quite a bit. And this may be because it's Marvel's first film, like first ever production into Hollywood, and a budget of 140 million, which is big at that time. They didn't have much resources to focus on CGI, which it later did down the line. But it did not really hinder the film overall. Now this is a point I want to talk about the spoilers. And the first spoiler was Albert Einstein. He's the one who initiated the attack on Tony Stark and initiated his kidnapping. Because he wanted to take over the company. But when Tony Stark came back from Afghanistan, he was puzzled and he wanted to know how he built this technology. It was actually the arc reactor which they built in the 70s, but he made it smaller to his chest, which kept him alive. And Albert Einstein wanted the technology for himself, so he can build his own suit. But he couldn't do it because the scientists were not smart enough and resourceful as Tony. So he later stole the arc reactor from Tony by pulling out his chest and putting it into his Ironmonger suit. And this resulted into the boss fight, which I spoke previously on. The boss fight was between Ironmonger and Iron Man, and the reason why I don't say the final fight wasn't strong enough because he saw Albert Einstein. Yes, he did. He was the man behind the scenes, but his turn to villainy was not strong enough, and he wasn't. And the fight between him and Tony was not big enough and strong enough to carry the final act. It did have some funny moments and smart moments between Tony with the freezing problem as they got up to the sky, but it was mostly noise and big, bombastic explosions, and which we see in later Marvel film, which we see in later films, as we've seen today. As the Easter egg for the film, you see Clark Gregg play as Agent Coulson, and his character will be a part of the Marvel films later on, and he also has his own TV show, which is currently going on today. But the biggest spoiler is Samuel Jackson's Nick Fury, and this was a turning point, showing Marvel's intention of building a bigger universe and showing the Avengers later down the line. And it was the dream which started in its first step. And as I do later reviews on the Marvel films, Overall, I'll give this film an 8.6 out of 10. It's a strong film and a strong start for the MCU. It has the problems of its villains, and the CGI is not strong, but the cast, the story overall, and you see the development of growth of the character is the reason why the movie is so strong, and the reason why people gravitate towards Tony Stark, as well as Iron Man. And Robert Downey Jr. played the character so well, which is he literally played himself. That's all for that's the review for now. Thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe. Give the bell ring. Comment and share. Share to your friends. This is Jeremiah. Peace.